Curry chickpeas is a quick and easy delicious dish that's both satisfying and filling. It pairs perfectly with fluffy and chewy flatbread, which is also really easy to make. I'm going to show you step by step how I make these two delicious Indian inspired treats. Let's get into it. I like to use canned chickpeas because it's really convenient. The peas are already cooked and tender and I can whip this up in very little time. Chickpeas, aka garbanzo beans, are really delicious and I love the creamy nutty flavor, and it has a really nice texture. This is probably my favorite bean, or is it peas? These are really easy to snack on. I'm going to save that water, I'm going to use it later. I also use dry chickpeas from time to time. Pound for pound, it is way cheaper than the canned version but takes a good amount of time to process. Just like with other dried peas and beans, you can soak them overnight then boil them, or just use a slow cooker or pressure cooker. Anyway you slice it, it's going to take at the very least 1 hour to cook tender. I'm going to boil all my dried peas and freeze them, so this is easier next time. This needs a bit of time to rest, so before I make the curry, I need to prep the dough for this simple and delicious flatbread. I need 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I usually use a bit of whole wheat flour in my flatbread. About half cup of that 2 cups of AP flour would be whole wheat, but I was out. 1 teaspoon yeast. And I also want a teaspoon baking powder. The combination of both leaveners give the dough a great texture that lasts longer. These will still be good reheated a day later. And half teaspoon salt. These parsley have been sitting in my fridge for a while and they are past their prime, but I am still going to use them up. Typically with flatbreads like this, cilantro is a herb of choice. I'm thinking about naan, but this is a lot simpler and has less ingredients. I'm just giving this some rough chops, then I will just add it to the flour. So me and my brother made this bread with some escovitch fish the other day and it was the best fish and bread I've ever had. I'm adding just enough water to bring the dough together, a splash at a time. I just want something that's workable. Kneading this should take between 5 and 8 minutes. Alright, that looks good. Just want this a bit more smooth, so another minute. Cover that up and set it aside and we can finally start to work on the curry. A pan with tall sides like this works really well. I want a big splash of oil. Let's build some flavors. Add chopped garlic. I have a piece of celery. 3 tablespoons scallion, but I'm only going to use half for now. Same thing for my chopped bell peppers and onions. I'm giving these a little saute until they just start to brown and smell fragrant. I also want 2 bay leaves. The size difference is crazy, but you get the idea. I want a tablespoon of curry powder. This is the Better Pack brand. I still have curry from that curry chicken video months ago. 2 teaspoons coriander powder. And you don't have to add this much spice, but I am adding a teaspoon of chili powder and a tablespoon of chili flakes. This will be very spicy and that's part of the experience of eating curry for me. But you could simply add less or skip the spice altogether. Saute off those spices till they get fragrant. You will smell the difference. Next, add some diced tomatoes. I usually go for the overripe tomatoes because they are more flavorful. Half cup is good. Tomato also add a bit of acid to the curry, giving it a fuller, more rounded flavor. I want a bit of diced carrot and Irish potato. I'm using all of the canned chickpeas, which is about a cup. This probably needs more, but let's run with it for now. Sauteing the chickpeas like this with the spices and without any liquid helps to improve the flavor. I'm adding the chickpeas water. It still retains a bit of the nutrients from the chickpeas. I had some fresh coconut milk in my fridge, so I'm adding a bit to the curry. Coconut and curry is a delicious combination. The flavors are coming together nicely. All this needs now is a bit of time to simmer. Cover that up and I'm going to let it simmer for about 10 minutes. This doesn't take very long to cook. That's reduced quite a bit. A lot of people always have issues when I blend my food. That's okay. You really don't have to do this when you make it for yourself. I like to blend a bit of the peas and veg with a splash of water to give this a thick creamy sauce. It works so much better with the flatbread. Go ahead and add that back in. I'm going to add another cup of chickpeas because this is lacking. But for now, I'm just going to give this a taste. That's good, but it needs a bit more salt. I'm also adding a bit of sugar. The tomato made this way too acidic and sugar is a great remedy for that. Now is a great time to add the peppers, scallion and onion that we saved from earlier. This adds some fresher flavors so the curry tastes more dynamic. Long cooking time usually mutes a lot of the flavors of the fresh ingredients. Taste to make sure we're good, and I can now finally add the next cup of chickpeas, which I actually was waiting on to finish cooking. This smells really nice. The Better Pot brand is turmeric heavy, so in combination with the tomatoes, it gives me a vibrant yellow-orange color that I really like. Nice, that's done. I'm going to dig in, but first I need the thing I'm going to dig in with. This has been resting for the entire cooking time of the curry, which took about 20 minutes. It would take probably half the time if I was not filming. I'm just going to ball this up. This usually gives me 8 portions. I am dividing this in half because I only want 4 portions. You can ball them up and store them in the freezer. When you're ready, just let them thaw in the fridge a day before you need them. I'm going to roll these out, but I like to fold them over and ball them up before I roll. The thin end of my rolling pin gives me more precision and makes rolling these small dough much easier. Flour so it doesn't stick. I'm rolling these really thin and using flour when it's starting to get sticky. That thickness is perfect. I really like the parsley in these, a little bit of fresh greenness. Alright, let's cook. I'm using a stainless steel pan. These are not typically non-stick, but a trick to get them non-stick is to use a small splash of oil. Coat the pan completely and heat that way past where you want it for a couple minutes and then let it cool back down. Then add the flatbread. These take between 3 and 4 minutes to cook on medium low. I like a little bit of browning on each side. Play around with the heat to find that sweet spot. When air bubbles start to form, the first side is done, and after you flip, the second side usually takes around a minute to cook. A little drizzle of oil helps cook each bread more evenly and gives me a more vibrant brown. If you like having larger air bubbles or even an air pocket, you can make a higher hydration dough. More water is more steam, and steam is what's going to make the largest air bubbles. You can also drizzle a bit of oil on top of that bread so it browns better when you flip it. The difference this makes is very clear, as you can see here. It pops more. Perfect. That's finally done. Now let's get everything together. That smells so good. It's creamy and chunky at the same time. It's the perfect dip for the flatbread. Probably should have made more bread because I already see myself finishing all of this. I still have a little bit of that parsley, so I'm just going to use it up. That's perfect. This is right in the middle of the road between naan and roti, and it's real easy to make. You always want to tear flatbread, never cut it. The unevenly torn edges enhances the taste and texture a lot. Let's try this thing. That's a very nice bite. That's really good. I thought it would have been a lot spicier, but it really mellowed out. The textures are really nice. The chickpeas curry is chunky and creamy at the same time, and the bread has a nice chewy bite to it. And the yeast made this really flavorful. Wow, this was great. I'm really going to go in. Shout out to all the patrons. Your support means a lot. Thanks for watching, squad. But before you go, check out this delicious video. Catch you in the next one.